Tell me about yourself, and is it Dro or Dro, or what's the right way to...
So it's Dro Khucharaeani. I'm a father and a husband. I got 3 boys. My oldest is 8, and I have a set of twins who are 6. Now, one of the funny things that people don't know, and an interesting fact, which might tell you about my pain tolerance, is the twins were born the same year that we founded DISQO.
Dro, let's start with the first question, and I would like to learn more about the story behind creating DISQO and the mission that drives the company forward.
Thank you. I'm very excited, Luiza Jan, to be having this conversation with you today. This was 2014 or so. I was speaking to a former marketing leader at a very large tech company. And this individual was so proudly talking about how he made all these data-driven decisions. And when I asked him, like, where'd you get all this data that you're making these decisions based off of? And his answer was quite concerning. He was buying this data that he truly believed was representative of US consumers. But in reality, I was intimately familiar with that data, and good like 30-40% of it was just pure garbage. I couldn't stop thinking about the amount of waste that creates, right? All those decisions that are based on potentially suboptimal data don't necessarily drive the impact or the return in investment for those leaders. My co-founders and I started looking on the consumer side, trying to really understand how do these large companies really connect with everyday people to really understand their experiences. And the story wasn't that much better on that side, and to some degree hasn't been from the early days of internet. And the model that when I think about kind of data collection in general, practices on the internet, the model that comes to mind is bait and switch, right? We just felt like there's a better way of doing this. And that's how kind of DISQO came to be. And at DISQO, our vision is a world where people trust in sharing information to improve our human experience. And we're well on our way to achieve that dream at someday.
What is the biggest achievement at DISQO that you are personally particularly proud of?
Awesome. Great question. So at DISQO, we've been doubling every year, and not just the clients, the amount of clients that we have, but also our teams. So I'm very much proud of that. We also raised the $85 million Series B back in August of last year, which was quite a bit of big of a milestone. And then now, you said personal, so I'm going to share a personal story here. So I'm a serial entrepreneur at this point. DISQO is the 3rd company and the largest one. And DISQO has been growing for a while. But I don't think my parents really were proud of that as much until they came and saw the Armenia office last year. So before that, it was like, yeah, Drew's doing well, like there's a business and growing.
He's okay.
Yeah, it's okay, he's doing okay. And then when they came to Armenia and saw the office and the culture and the environment we built here, and then after that, it's like, yeah, you're done well, right? Which is another way of, by the way, saying at the end of the day, like we said, like we're very people first in everything we do. To me, one of the things that I'm most proud of is our people. Like, I look forward to working with everyone every day. That's what drives me every morning. And that people, our people and the culture we built together, that's something I'm most proud of.
So, Drew, we didn't talk about your co-founders and how you guys met and eventually decided to open office in Yerevan, where not many companies were present back then.
Thank you. So I have 2 co-founders, we're 3 co-founders, and both of my co-founders are named Armen. Armen Ajemian and Armen Petrosyan. And funny story there, a lot of people think I only have one co-founder because they only know one of the Armens, and it's like it's Armen and Drew, but I have two co-founders. So we always wanted to do something together. And the other part, I guess, one of the also, like when I think back, just us three being Armenians, that was a very strong influence for us to make sure that we have an office in Armenia. And since 2018, there's been like 500 plus new IT companies in Armenia. And then when you look at some of the local and foreign companies who have a large kind of percentage of our people in Armenia, they have reached unicorn or unicorn plus. I was hearing decacorn statuses, which makes me extremely proud. And just it's that excitement and that still continues. And I'm really happy to be part of that story.
What do you think? What's next for Armenia, for Armenia's tech environment and like technologies in general? What is your vision in that perspective?
Great. So we have great talent in Armenia. And this is when we were starting in our office in Yerevan, one of the key things that I personally was very interested in was ensuring that we create an environment that world-class tech talent grows in Armenia, but also decides to stay in Armenia. So a lot of work goes around growth and retention, right? How do we retain the best talent? And in my opinion, our contribution to that was, are we able to create opportunities that require very senior tech talent, where allows, for example, mid or senior level tech talent to become staff, principals, very senior talent. So that's an area that I do feel like we have made quite a bit of headway. That's a story that's still developing with us. There's a lot of focus and effort that goes into that in DISQO. And I'm still very much excited to see how we can ensure that Armenia is developing that world-class talent and those people are deciding to stay in Armenia.
How DISQO contributes to the gap that we have now in Armenia in terms of tech talent, or how what your education programs look like here?
Mm-hmm. So from the first day that of me actually coming to Yerevan in 2018, we always had this we are part of the community mindset. I remember that on my first trip, we did a Yerevan CTO event that I met with a lot of different leaders. And so we always felt part of it, and we always felt like giving back to the community the same way that the community has supported us and helped us grow DISQO in Armenia. And when I think about kind of like closing that gap, the talent gap, I think about primarily two things. One is, are we able to create opportunities for these people to really apply those talents and the skills and be motivated to grow, which I feel like we've done a pretty good job at DISQO, and that's been because of our hyper-growth stage and growth. The second piece, which is to me is even more important, is now that we have this kind of opportunities and these challenges, are we training and are we creating support structure for people to grow, both internally and externally? Over the years, we have partnered with a lot of different organizations in Armenia, Armenian Code Academy, UITE, GITC, and Gyumri. And we've trained 150 plus people over the last year or so. The one that is closest to my heart to some degree was the 50 plus Artsakh veterans that we trained in the last year or so, and helped them pick a career in tech. And some of those folks decided to join DISQO, some went to help other tech companies, but for us it was, how do we really build the Yerevan and Armenia tech community and the culture first, and then if we can get some support back for DISQO second.
The CTO role, your role in the company, and I want to understand what is the main challenges that you have, and your focus areas are more on product innovations, technology, team management, or maybe there are some other areas that you want to highlight?
Thank you. So as the CTO, I'm responsible for all of our product engineering and data teams, which accounts to almost half of that 530 people. And we endearingly call it DISQO Tech. And my focus, and this is more not just my focus, but it's a focus for the company at this point. So a lot of my focus these days are around ensuring that we have the right person at the right role with the right information so they can make the right decisions. Said differently, it's more around driving alignment as a leader, making sure we have a lot of leaders, we have a lot of teams. This is an org of 260 plus people. So ensuring teams are rowing the same direction and then creating a lot of focus, right? Ensuring people are focused on the right things.
Team and talent management. I want to know what is DISQO's leadership approach to team management, to talent development, and how DISQO is unique in this perspective.
I'm a big believer in what Steve Jobs said a long time ago, which is it doesn't make sense to hire smart people and tell them what to do. So we hire smart people, give them challenges to solve, and they tell us what to do. And that's one of the things we have been solving from early days of DISQO, from day one, which is all around how do we empower everyone to really make decisions and own the outcomes of those decisions. And when you think about that environment and that culture that we're building, which is a very much bottom-up agile culture where the teams are the decision makers, and because they have they're the closest to the problems a lot of times, that's the leadership model that we thought would work the best, and in our opinion, that's the only leadership model that should exist, is servant leadership. We use a servant leadership model where it kind of flips the role of the leadership, and leadership becomes a support structure that allows these teams who are creating the impact be able to go and create that impact that they are able to and reach their full potential. So I would say for us, it's from day one, we've had a very much of a people first mindset. People first, and what we say is we're people first in everything we do. And it's actually one of the proudest things I am about our culture, which today we have about 530 people globally, and we've been able to maintain that piece of our culture, which is we're still very much people first.
And what is one important problem that DISQO solves for your customers?
Thank you for asking that question. We are helping our customers understand the full experience of their own customers, and not the customers they have and the customers that they want to have. And in addition to that, we are closing the gap between what people say and what people do, right? If you ask someone, it's like, hey, what is the type of coffee you like? They might say dark and black, but in reality, when they're drinking it, it could be a lot of milk and a lot of sugar in there, right? So we're able to connect the dot between what people actually say and their behaviors, right? The attitudes and behaviors.
The final question, what is the next big thing for DISQO? Where are you headed? And if we met, for example, next year this time, what would you want to share as a big achievement for DISQO or big news?
Great question. So our vision at DISQO is a world where people trust in sharing information to improve our human experience. And we're on a mission to build the most trusted customer experience platform that connects people to brands, to help brands grow, right? This stage that we have demonstrated that we can deliver a lot of value to our customers, but we still have quite a bit of work ahead of us. And this is actually one of the reasons that we're still actively hiring for very strong tech talent. So if we were to meet in a year or so, I would love for us to be able to talk about how that DISQO CX platform has grown, how our number of brands that we help make decisions have grown, and how our people were able to help us get to that point.
Thank you very much, Drew. This This was very interesting, and even though we work with DISQO for around 4 years already, right from the start of the company here in Armenia, there were a lot of new things I learned and really got really empowered with the plans that you have and your contribution in Armenia. So I wish DISQO all the best, and I really hope that next time that we meet, you have overachieved all the goals that you currently have now.
Thank you, Luiza Jan. None of this wouldn't have been possible if it wasn't for the partnership that we have with the community and the rest of the Yerevan tech team, specifically Staff.am. So really appreciate all the help you all and the support that you all provided us and helped us grow DISQO and get it to where it is today.
Thank you.